Okay, so let's now move on to broad and phrase match. So what's the best way to utilize that to expand the keyword pool?
Great question. I'm glad you asked. I have a lot of notes about this one. So the way I like to look at the different targeting types, broad, phrase, exact, is you're narrowing your net each time or down that list, right? So broad is like the widest net and you're going to get a relevant search terms. That's the nature of the broad campaign. Phrase is a little bit more narrow. I mean, you're still going to get in search terms that are related. And then, exact, as we had mentioned previously, is exactly what it is, right? Like just that keyword, nothing else. So let's go over then how to best leverage broad and phrase match to identify these customer search behaviors and how we can best utilize them. So starting with broad match, just to describe what broad match is in case anyone listening doesn't really know the difference between broad and phrase and how those kind of narrow on down. Broad is any search term that it relates to another search term in any capacity. So example, soap for men, you could get like men's body wash, soaps for him, bath accessories. Those are all very broad terms that would go with that keyword. Whereas a phrase match campaign, you're not going to get those related terms. It would only be keywords that include that phrase exactly as it is within the phrase, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, maybe like we're doing the soaps for men example, scented soaps for men or gift soaps for men, like those are phrase matches that include that query, but aren't as broad as a broad match, if you will. So we can leverage this data. First, with a broad match, you almost want to treat it like an auto campaign where you are negating search terms that are irrelevant because we want to pivot that spin to discover keywords that are relevant and that come from that broad match, right? Because then, as we had talked about earlier in the podcast, we can cross-reference this data to see if that certain term is increasing in search volume, because then that's an indicator that the customer search trend is changing, right? And then this is something that we're going to want to implement in our copy, back in search terms, etc. On this note as well, we can also get, misspellings in the broad, at least, maybe some Spanish terms. That's a really good candidate for alt text back end search terms because people are looking, people are converting on that, but doesn't really have a place in your title. So that's kind of how you can leverage that. I know we've already talked about further breaking those down into exact campaigns, so I won't waste too much time on that. But that's how I like to best leverage the broad match campaigns. So I'll pause there before I go into phrase, see if you have any thoughts on that one.
Yeah, so again, the same thing. This time you are getting the list of all the keywords, performing keywords in the broad match campaigns. And then those that are achieving the best results, as we described in the earlier one, with the impressions, the click-throughs, and the purchases, you optimize your content with it.